Good evening, it is Irankar. It is my pleasure to be with you in this evening. Well, you spent a very lovely meditation. If you followed the picture as it went through, you saw yourself, the inner spirit, the inner beauty of yourself, the way that you are, which is truly you, that you are filled with beauty. And it is the beauty of God, for God's presence, God's being, God's vibration is your essence. And when you vibrate to your essence, that is of God, you have stupendous powers of creation. You can create the world around you. In fact, you do it every day. You may not just realize it, but the way you think about the world is actually the world that you are experiencing. And so if you want to find harmony and peace and love, it is only for you to hold these things in your mind and to ask others to hold that. And as you act as if you are God, in other words, creating a beautiful world, but also being careful to send love and healing and prosperity and good vibrations to others. Remember, what it is you send to others is what it is you will receive in your life. And so it behooves you to try to make other people happy, or at least send them good vibrations. Be tolerant of them. Forgive them their mistakes, because this is what you would like. You would like to be treated well. You want your mistakes to be forgiven. You want to experience love in your life and the love of others. And so send them out, give them away, and you will receive them back. And so now, if you wish, it is time for me to take questions. I hope, just to explain that there is no method for taking questions for me. Whoever speaks up and asks this question is the one who gets his answer. And so I suggest to you that if no one else is speaking, you decide to take your turn. Now, most of the time when there are people waiting, even with questions, they hesitate to step in. And so there are periods of silence. And then sometimes you finally, two of you will start to talk at once. And then, of course, one allows the other to go first. And so everything is resolved peaceably. However, I would suggest to you, do not wait for long silences. Please just open your mouth and ask your question, because that is what is most beneficial to yourself, as well as beneficial to others. For all those who are present will learn. And we thank them for their presence, and I thank them for their questions. And so, who has a question for me?
Hi, Rankar. This is Soham.
Yes, Soham.
Yes, I'll start off the evening then.
Yes, thank you.
I guess per our discussion last week, I had the meeting with the vice president of marketing at the local semiconductor company.
Oh, yes.
I think it was a good meeting. I asked a lot of questions. I think he asked a lot of questions. This was for a director of product marketing position. So I felt I could do the job, but I had mixed feelings about whether that job would be right for me. It seemed to be a strategically more challenging job compared to the one I have now. But I think the it seemed to be an individual contributor job, kind of the same as what I've been doing so far. So not really the step up that I was hoping for. I guess
Did
I
you
guess,
ask that question specifically or did you
yes.
avoid it?
No, I asked the question specifically. I asked very specifically, what are is there, I mentioned I wanted an emphasis on managing a team and organizing the team effort. Um, and he said that he can't really commit to that right now. The organization is not large enough to support that. He's hiring, in addition to this director role, he wants to hire a junior person, and perhaps he can put that junior person under me, but it wouldn't, he could not commit to that. And further team expansion would depend on the business. And um, I've um, I feel like I could do that, but I wouldn't be maybe completely satisfied doing that. I feel like it might feel like more of the same that I've been doing, and not really the leap up that I was hoping for.
Well, I would suggest to you that that is a limitation that you are putting on with your own mind.
Okay.
You are seeing it as if that is the way it will permanently be. Now,
Okay.
if you were to take this position and you were to be highly successful in your marketing endeavors, that you
Okay.
came up with clever and interesting marketing ideas, ways to help the company grow, the need for you to have a team would develop on its own. So
Okay.
you could simply, by changing your perspective, see this as a challenge to build the company and your marketing to such a level that it needed a team. So you could look at it in that challenge. Now, if you choose not to look at it that way, that is perfectly acceptable. But I am merely pointing out to you that this is that you are seeing within your head that the job would never change. You would have the title of director of marketing, but have no one under yourself to make it happen. But of course, if you are the director of marketing, you would need people under you. And you would soon manifest that need. And so your position would grow to what it is you would like it to be. It has the potential to grow like that if the company grows. And so this is what your challenge is, if you choose to accept it. And it is not, my words are not telling you to accept it. I'm merely pointing out that you limited the position by your current experience, thinking that as this one has turned out that you are in, that it may never evolve to what you are looking for. But you must realize, if you can meet this challenge, to make this company grow through your clever and interesting marketing, then you will be able to point to future people, future opportunities to say, yes, I was responsible for helping this company to grow because I was the director of marketing and I came up with X and so marketing programs which increased sales and increased what they needed to do and could do. So it is how you wish to perceive it that is limiting you at this time. But
Okay.
you are also correct in your evaluation that it could stay exactly as it is.
Right.
I know I have not helped you.
um, I guess I think I'm looking at it from the point of view of my experience at my current company, where I, um, it was more of a lateral move, and and um, I fear I would make the same mistake again if that was my fear. But I guess if I can, I guess grow the business, and provide direction, and the company could grow their business, like you mentioned, there would be a need to hire more people, so it could quickly manifest into the type of role that I want.
that you want, and that is
Yeah.
correct. But you phrased it well when you said that I might be making the same mistake that I had made last time with a lateral position. Do not, although you did not grow in the sense of being responsible for a team, you grew in your knowledge of marketing
Yes.
and ways to move a company or yourself forward. So your move to your current position was not a wasted move for yourself. It was the right thing for you to do. If
Right.
marketing is what it is that you wish to do and continue to do.
Right.
So I'm just indicating to you that there was a limitation in how you looked at this job. You
Okay.
could continue to look for new jobs just to see if something comes along.
Right. Yeah. I guess this job here, the local company, there were a couple of things that are attractive about it. Is that one, it is local. It's very convenient to work with the location, and the R&D team is in the same time zone, so there are many benefits to that. And it is in a similar domain, semiconductor and optics. Both are of something I'm familiar with, um, and so those are some plus sides. So
Yes,
I guess maybe I should uh, still follow up with the in-person interview at their site, um, and then discuss further the role, um, and uh, and see if there's another mutual fit. I'm sure I could do the job well. It's just, is this the right step for me? Is that something I'm not completely clear on?
and as you know, I will not answer that question for you.
Yeah.
You must make your own decisions.
Right.
And I just enlarged the way for you to think of the job if
Right.
you wish to take and make the change.
Right.
Uh, if there are advantages to making a change, even though it is lateral, if it
Yeah.
has the potential, if you get more money, if
Yeah.
there are more benefits,
Yeah.
if it seems like it'll be more harmonious for you, even though your current job is quite harmonious for you.
Right.
And also, you may decide that you may wish to investigate whether you have the same opportunity where you are.
Yeah.
Even though it has not revealed itself up to this time, if you were to make it known that this is what you are hoping to do, then perhaps it will reveal itself.
Mm.
Many things for you to think about.
Yeah.
Are there other questions?
um, I guess I talked to him about my plan to go to India as well. Um, and I guess, of course, he wanted me to start sooner, but I think that might be a little bit messy. It might be quite disruptive to my personal plans. Um, so I can go ahead with the interview and see if there are any the ideas he
Yes.
has. Yeah.
Yes, you can go ahead with the interview and ask more questions. And you can decide that perhaps this is not the right time and this is not the right place for
Yeah.
you, because you have to make your trip. You have already committed to that.
Yeah.
And it is important that you keep it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I must find out if there are others that have questions.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Veronica.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes, who is this?
My name is Lisa.
Lisa, thank you.
I have a question about which path I should take. I recently left my husband and I saw the lawyer today. He suggested I put a restraining order on my husband and take back the house, but that feels wrong to me. I'm wondering if I should just go the route I was normally taking and just do it the nicer way, so to speak.
Well, if the question of a restraining order came up, then that must have been because of the possibility of violence or harm.
Yes, I moved out of the house. He punched a hole in the wall.
And you what?
I moved out of the house because he punched a hole in the wall.
Because yes, he punched a hole in the wall.
Yes,
But he did not punch you, but
he
it
did not.
seems like there was anger which might lead to violence, perhaps against your own being. And you
I was more afraid of what my children would think if I stayed. I didn't want them to think that was appropriate or acceptable behavior.
And so your question to me is, should you put a restraining order on him?
Yes.
Well, you may have observed in the previous conversation that I do not make decisions.
Right. I'm just wondering. I wanted an outside thought.
And so what I will mention to you, you phrased it as, I didn't want the children to think it was acceptable behavior.
Correct.
But the attorney gave you the suggestion of putting the restraining order on him.
Right.
One moment, I must give this consideration. The fact that he punched a hole in the wall indicates that he had has the ability to restrain himself, that he did not consider, or even though he was extremely angry, he did not lose control of his actions. He directed his violence to a harmless object, in the sense that the wall would not really be hurt. He would only have to repair it. And you have not indicated whether you are going to stay in the house and he will be ejected, or whether you are staying somewhere else with your children. And so
I didn't think he was harm any of us. I'm staying with a friend. He is home with our boys. They're all older. They're not young. 2 of them are going to college. One is staying home. But I had some places to go and I still care about him. But he does not have a support network at all. I had 4 places to go. He would have nowhere.
I see. The support network does not play into my considerations, and perhaps should not play into your consideration, because it is up to you to do what is best for you. Since you leave him alone, and you decided on the action of one incident that you spoke of to me, that you would leave the marriage. So I assume that there were other incidences of quarreling and anger. And so for me, the question is whether that is the right movement for yourself. And you have to make that decision based on, not so much on that you do not want your other sons to get the message that this is acceptable behavior. If they are older, they are already aware of what is acceptable behavior. They know that normal people do not punch holes in walls just because they are having an argument, that this is not generally done. So your boys seem old enough to have already learned that lesson. And so therefore, you just have to move through with the divorce the way you want it to be. There is probably no reason to give him a restraining order since he is staying in the home and you have moved to someone else, unless there is evidence that he is harassing you or will continue to harass you at the current location in which you are living. Do you understand?
I do. Thank you.
So that I think these considerations, if you just consider them in your mind, you will probably decide that it is safe for you to continue with your divorce proceedings in a normal manner without taking a restraining order. Perhaps the restraining order was a tactic your attorney thought would increase your settlement or make the situation more favorable to your having taken action to leave the what was the home for you and your husband and your family. So
That's exactly right.
Political move.
Mm-hmm.
As
Thank you.
opposed
So basically, I'm going to follow my gut.
Yes, it seems like that will probably be satisfactory. Be ready to make a change. However, if you detect that he's becoming more hostile to yourself and if there seems to be more violence.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there other questions? And from also anyone else?
Yes, Ron Carr, it's Elizabeth. I was wondering, what happens when the body stops functioning? We die. Is there a procedure? Do we really get judged and you go to heaven, hell, or purgatory to spend time? People have been asking that question, especially as their loved ones are transitioning. And I was just wondering.
Yes, there is a method, if you will. Of course, when the body no longer functions, the spirit is released. And there is, most people or people frequently describe it as being brought into the white light and being moved through a tunnel. These are different ways that people who have come back from, had a near-death experience, have described what was happening to them. And yes, so this is the way they describe it, and they find themselves, for the most part, I do not know how they have described how it's whatever they have expected to see. You see, when you first become free of the body, it's whatever you expect to experience in death that you begin to go through. So if you have the belief that you are going to be met by St. Peter at the pearly gates, it's entirely probable that you may find yourself meeting St. Peter, or what you perceive to be St. Peter at what you perceive to be the pearly gates, because you are creating these It's part of your leftovers, so to speak, ability to create. It's within your mind, within your consciousness that you are at that time. Now, if you expect to see angels and cherubim and things like that, you will also see them. If you don't have such education or such belief in this, you will experience whatever you experience. But it will be in correspondence with how you believe. But everyone will go through what is called the life review. And that means shortly after death, you will be able to see all the important points in your life and how they affected the people around you, how they affected, or the people who were most affected by this and how they were affected by this. And so you get to see all of these things. And they flash by in an instant, but it is most sobering to see the results of your own actions and your own thoughts. And as a result, when this is complete, then comes your judgment. You are not judged by anyone else. You are simply judged. You judge yourself. What you have done that you were not happy with, that you saw caused problems for other people, or for which you were not, you were unfair, or the way you may have hurt someone else. You see all these things, and so you judge yourself. You judge yourself on what it is you still need to learn. And you think about how you can fix what you have done, or how you can come back at another time. People always wonder when they're in the throes of difficulty in life on the physical plane, they wonder why they came back, because this was not an idea of a good life. They were unhappy with themselves at some point in time. And this unhappiness, which they also are aware of, needs to change, or they would like to change. And the only way they can change it, or experience it differently, or try to make a better life, is to come back into the physical. And so that is why people reincarnate and incarnate again and again, because they see how they can improve or what they must do. Of course, as the incarnation happens, usually that understanding, that knowledge, that insight that you gain during your life review is hidden from you. You lose that knowledge and understanding. So you start out fresh with a clean slate and no knowledge of what has been before. So I hope that is helpful to you on this. Do you have a further question about it?
And then I realize that when we go back and we leave the body, our spirit kind of gets put back into the creator. How do we then recognize loved ones? Is it through vibration? And we just know them?
Yes,
Now,
of
I'm not
course.
expecting everybody's going to look like we looked here. So,
Yes. People often wonder, how do you communicate? People wonder, as you have said, how do people recognize one another? Well, there are many ways that you know your friends and family members. You know them by the sound of their voice. You know them by their physical appearance. You know them by the way they think. And so once you are in spirit, while these people having grown from their incarnation that they left, and perhaps the one that you knew them in, while it has changed them, that knowledge of who this person is still exists. And so you can recognize one another if you wish. You can speak to one another simply when you have a thought. It is known to all those that you wish to share that thought with. That may seem strange to you, but that is just the way that it happens. So you don't have to speak anything. There are no words when you are in spirit. That is why when I am present with the medium, I could use her vocabulary to express that which I need to express in words so that you can understand them. But there are no words in spirit. Total understanding occurs simply because you think it. Everything that you experience, think now about any person or any loved one, and you instantly know many things about this person. Instantly. Well, that occurs when you are in spirit. Simply seeing one another, you know everything that you need to know, everything that you wish to know, everything which is important for whatever is going on at this time. And so you recognize your loved ones, and you see, perhaps, you probably see them after, in the beginning, you may see them as you experience them. As time, and remember there is no time in spirit, so when I use this phrase, it is very confusing to even speak of it, but I will call it time, meaning not immediately. When you see that person again, you will know them in their progressed way. Let us put it that way. That this is now how they are. This is what you didn't know about them. Past lives, past relationships with you. Sometimes, we are not limited to a single relationship with one person, that we have had multiple relationships with that person over multiple lifetimes. And so all those memories, if we wish to call them memories, those facts about the individual and yourself all come to mind. And it is not confusing or strange. It is simply that it is knowledge that is known. Because when you are in spirit and no longer restricted by the body, your ability to understand and to remember past lives, past relationships is there more fully for yourself. And also understanding of how you could have done differently and how you could have done better. So it is somewhat confusing to explain because you cannot imagine it while you are within the confines of the physical body and limited in the knowledge of what you have experienced in that lifetime. When you first incarnate, and children often remember past lives and often know people in a different way because they are still aware and open and can know their life in spirit. As the experiences of infancy, as the experiences of growth, as the baby matures and learns more things, this fills his mind, and his physical mind within the body begins to dominate and all those experiences that he has remembered disappear. And so rarely beyond the ages of 3 or 4 or 5, maybe 6, does a child remember being in spirit at all. They are usually gone and evaporated by the new knowledge that he has learned in functioning on the physical plane. So when you come into physicality, your memory of being in spirit is obscured and erased by the reality of the physical world. Does that answer your question, or do you have another question?
No, yes, thank you. Very good. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Does anyone else have a question?
Hi, Ronkar. This is Tanya. I was reading something today by Deepak Chopra, and I thought if I could read it just a few lines, if you could comment on what this resonates.
Yes.
He says, if you see yourself as centered and calm, yours is a God of the restful awareness response. If you see yourself in fear, barely holding on with survival at stake, yours is of God of fight or flight. If you see yourself as capable of power and accomplishment, yours is a God of the reactive response. I think that's enough. He does a dozen of them, but does that resonate in how I'm trying to grasp at how we each individually define God and therefore ourselves and our purpose?
Well, it isn't interesting. He has combined psychology, which is what he was at one time, a psychologist. So he has combined his book learning with his spiritual ideas to give you an idea of God, or a God that you might experience, a God that you would know. Most people are not limited to one picture of God. They know him as having many separate ways. But the truth of it is that what he is saying is that the way you think and you see the world colors your experience totally. So it colors your understanding of God. It has been colored by all the things people have told you about God. And it has been colored by everything you have experienced, not just what you heard from others, but what you have experienced of the world and the judgments you make on the world. I would be willing to say this book that you were reading was a fairly early writing of Deepak Chopra, that his understanding of people's experience of God would have changed as he became more involved in spiritual work. He would have left behind, or he did leave behind, these phrases that come from modern psychology. Do you understand?
Yes, thank you. I have a question then.
Of course.
Then my final question is, it was once said to me that God or the universe benefits from our being here, that the universe evolves because and is almost grateful to us for being in this journey. So does Ronkar agree, or is there some sort of defined all-knowingness that's already finished evolving and we're just kind of catching up to it? It's hard to explain in words the question I have.
Okay, so I will try to paraphrase what you have said. So this was something that
Abraham Hicks.
another person
I think
told.
Abraham Hicks alluded to how grateful they are that we are, yeah, something like that. Sorry.
Okay, how grateful for the opportunity to have come into the physical world for the purpose of everyone comes in to create a wonderful, perfect life for themselves. Most of us fail, but that is beside the point. We are far from perfect because we are evolving. But yes, as people evolve and think more globally in trying to create a globally peaceful world in which everyone prospers and is happy. That is a way of thinking about what she has said, or he has said, Abraham being Abraham, that in a sense that as we evolve on the physical plane, as you evolve on the physical plane, you bring about, well, you don't really manifest more in the spiritual plane. That the spiritual plane does not evolve with you, but the fact that you can contribute to goodness on earth does bring peace and harmony and love within the creation. Increasing helps everyone, helps everything. It helps the weather. It helps the manifestation of goodness in the world. As goodness grows, it makes things better. So in a sense, this is also reflected on the spiritual plane, because the planes are, I will say, mirrors of one another. Since it says, as above, so below. As below, so above. That is one of the rules or the principles of the Kabbalah. And what that means is that as you think, as spirit is, it is reflected in the earth. And as you are in earth, it is somewhat a reflection as above, and one affects the other. So it is a truism what he has said, but it is mostly helpful if you are looking to spirit to be your example of what it can possibly be on the earth. And Abraham's phrase that they are grateful to good works and good acts on the earth, it is the same as you saying that your good behaviors within your family make your whole family happy. They make the environment for everyone happy. And as people do not behave well, they affect everyone's happiness by diminishing it. And so if you were to go out and rob a bank, it would cause all your family members to be ashamed because you were part of them in a sense. And since all people on earth, we are all In the physical, you are as one with one another as much as we in spirit are one with one another. So that what you do to others, you do to yourself. And that which you do to yourself affects others. It is the same. And we are going between physical and spiritual there. You need not really worry about it. Achieving goodness by your personal actions and behaviors and helping others without looking for recognition, so to speak, just unselfishly helping others does help the whole world. As you create goodness and peace within yourself and within your family, so it is that that goodness and peace goes somewhere and can affect the war in the Ukraine, because you create harmony within your life. You enrich the whole harmony within the whole world, which make it more difficult to retain the Ukrainian crisis and the Ukrainian war. So in a sense, I hope you can understand. It is difficult for me to explain. I can only tell you that that is the way it is. And but as far as you are concerned, you just try to be the best person that you can be. And that is all you can do in an incarnation. Create happiness for yourself. Create happiness for others if you can do so. But it is not your obligation to make other people happy or spend your time working on creating happiness for others. You just do your life. And by making your life good, so it is that you do affect all the goodness in the world. And as that is affected in the physical world, so it is reflected in the spiritual world. And once again, I find it harder to explain other than to say that. So what you have heard is true. It is an unusual way of expressing it, however, that they are grateful. But you may take that if you wish.
Thank you. That was beautiful. I thank you very much.
You're welcome. Are there any more questions?
That just seems so simplistic, and yet we don't seem to be able to attain, or anyway, it doesn't appear to show improvement. That the more we keep our own side of the street clean, the more other streets are blowing up all around us. And I just wondered, like, as we approach whatever our purpose in life is, how do you even know where to begin or where not to? I mean, if you around here, every time you turn around, there's one crime becoming worse and worse on innocent people that seemingly are minding their own business and trying to go about their day. It's just, to me, I can't even imagine how God feels, but it frustrates me constantly.
Ah, yes, well, you are creating your own frustration by making the judgment that this is bad. Of course it is bad, but does it affect you? Only in as much as you wish to let it affect you. You can help yourself at these times by continuing to send love and healing out to all peoples, especially to criminals and to people who do and take bad actions that harm other people, that they should understand that this is not good for themselves either, that what they do to others comes back to them at some point in time in some way. And so it behooves these people to be more harmonious, to live well, and to be kind to others, to be grateful for the things they have in their life, not be envious of others. Work at creating more money for yourself. Give yourself, work hard, be kind. That is what is most important. If everyone were kind to everyone else, the world would be, that's an understatement, a better place. But if everyone was kind to one another, you would not start wars. People would be employed. People would pay appropriate amounts of money for the work that other people did for them. There would be fairness and evenness everywhere, and that would make life wonderful. So if you are just being upset and unhappy over hearing that someone was killed or murdered or was robbed or whatever, it is now important for you to wish other people well, to send the perpetrators kindness and love, and so that they can understand. Put that intention into what you are sending out, that their life would actually be better if they behaved better. And know that to be true. And then you will be more likely to affect the world rather than feeling frustrated, because frustration does not help you to feel peace and harmony or be happy. And so you cause yourself a problem. This is what you have to learn in life, is to keep the peace and harmony within yourself, no matter what happens. You have to experience whatever happens. And if it's not happening to you, then you give thanks for the good blessing of it not happening to you. That this problem has not intruded on your life any more than just the knowledge. And so you wish some healing out to these situations. Don't be frustrated, send healing. And know that healing and good intentions and good thoughts, healing improves the world. And then life will be better for everyone. That is what you are seeking to resolve. So you make your peace with the world, within yourself. You send healing, and you know that things will be better. Because you are God. You are made up of the same energy as God. You may not direct it as powerfully as God, but by creating peace and harmony in your life, you actually do help to create peace and harmony outside you for other people. So, are there any more questions? We are nearing the end of our evening.
I was just wondering that as in spirit, are we like kind of playing a game with ourselves in a way by sending ourselves back to earth and saying, well, I'm going to put myself in this sort of position just to see what I'm going to do?
Well, no, you are not doing that. You're not going to say, I'll put myself in this position just to see what I'm going to do. It says, I'm going to go have this opportunity to join these parents in this place. And this is the type of person I will be. And I'm going to do a better job in this life. And I am going to create more peace perhaps I will go meet someone that I have injured in the past and help them in some way, so that I'm balancing out my karma. There will be many things that you can do. And so that is what you see. I'm going to create a better life. Not what will I do with it this time? All optimistic.
Okay. Well, I
You're-
figured we get here and maybe we had all good intentions before we got here, but we're thrown into this life and all sorts of stuff happens and maybe we don't do what we intended to do. And then maybe we're mad at ourselves later on.
No, you're never mad at yourself.
Oh, okay.
That is an emotion that does stay with the body, but does not stay with you in spirit. You don't experience those kind of emotions. Your knowledge and judgment, it would be a cool, simple acknowledgement that you could have done better, and doing this was a mistake. And how can you avoid that? How are you going to be in a position to understand what it is you need to know so you do not make this mistake again? Such as those who decide to rob banks for a living.
Mm-hmm. So all those things we can say without an emotional attachment when we're in spirit.
Yes,
Oh,
because the
okay.
emotions are not there with you. You can see things clearly, and you have the results of these actions are clear in front of you. You can see that this had this result on your life. You tried to rob a bank. You did so, and so you got thousands of dollars, but they took your picture and they figured out who you were, and then they arrested you. And then you went to prison. So you never got to spend your money, and you spent 20 years in prison before you died. Was that a smart life? No.
Nope.
So you know that you don't want to do that again. And you try to set up a situation where you don't do that again.
Oh,
You are
okay.
not tempted. And that you try to bring in more love and more harmony. With each incarnation, you try to create a more harmonious, prosperous, happy life the next time round. And now I'm going to say goodbye, good night to
All right.
everyone. I give you
Good night.
all my blessings, and I hope you all have a wonderful week, and that perhaps you come back next week and continue to ask questions, because it is my belief, it is my knowledge that as I give answers to you, so it is that others receive those answers also. It answers their questions at the same time. Yes. So I give you all my blessings. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
So much.
Thank you, Ronka.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm back. Okay.
I have a question for you, Juana.
Oh, okay.
How's our friend Gary?
Oh, Gary has made his transition successfully. He is still within the throes of the unhappiness that caused him to do what he did. And so he is not ready for his life review yet. And it is the time of rest.
Right.
That is what is referred to as the time of rest after death. So he is okay. Other questions?
Well, when we send him, light and love in this time, does that help him? I know it's a silly question, but
No, it is not a silly question. Of course it helps him, because he feels that it is perhaps similar to taking a nice warm bath. When people send light and love to people they know who have departed and moved into transition, have to transition into to the spirit world, almost all people directly after death do not immediately have their life review. As Ron Carr had said, they experience what it is they expected to experience. And as a result, many of them are in a reality that is not true to spirit. And so this is called the time of rest. Eventually, the awareness of being fully in spirit comes into the consciousness, and with it, the life review takes place. But it is not until a person is ready to do that. And then that is quite a profound experience for everyone, so that it often sends people again into deep reflection and thought, so to speak, the equivalent of someone reflecting in solitude. So they have to they just need to adjust to the overwhelming information they have received. And so your love and healing energies you send to someone who's recently departed are a great help. And especially to those who have made their departure, as your friend did, voluntarily in a violent way, causing death to themselves. They are to be sent as much healing and love as you can. That helps a lot. Okay, is there anything else? Because I just came to say goodbye.
I have another question.
Oh, you have another question? Okay.
Those of us who practice meditation, or lots of meditation, in a sense, because you enter into contemplation many times through meditation, is that like a junior life review in a sense? I mean, are you already working things out, or is it a whole different level?
Do you mean the contemplation?
Yes, I mean,
When you think about things that you did or happened in your life?
well, gaining understanding about one's own self and nature and why things happen the way they happen and how they unfolded. Sometimes you gain insight into that through meditation.
Oh, yes, now I understand. Yes, in a way that is similar to a life review, but it is not. The life review is when you get understanding through meditation and contemplation, that is similar, but it is not as deep or profound, because when you go through your life review, it is sometimes very jarring and very, well, I would say upsetting, except if we do not feel emotions, but it does cause one to think. That is what I can say. Do you have another question?
No,
So in a
no.
sense, it is very similar to a life review. But what is revealed to you is usually more the direct consequences of your words and actions. And so you take knowledge and understanding of yourself as a creator more fully in a life review. But I know in contemplation, you can get a peek at that. Anything else?
Yes, but I'll let you go.
Okay, well then maybe next week you can ask questions.
If I can remember them.
Okay, write them down, and before Ronkar comes in, you can tell me your questions, or you can say, I have to talk to you, so make sure Ronkar saves time.
All right.
Okay, all right. Remember, I love you all. Good night.
Good day.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.